So I started a series of Sunday afternoon concerts. And then out of that, I would engage another musician to play with me for a third of the program. Now this would be, say, a cellist, a violinist, a clarinist, a flautist, or what have you, or a singer. And so I would play the first and third part of the program solo, but then I would be joined in the middle for what was chamber music. And this was a very good formula. And the concerts were extremely successful, and they continued for about a year and a half.
When the Hungry Eye moved to a bigger location in 1954, Donald and a friend, Win Aston, had the idea to use the former location for 2 nights of piano music and 1 Sunday concert. They called their new experiment Opus 1.
Well, the first idea was to have live music 5 days out of the week. Well, we quickly got over that. But we did have live concerts for 3 nights. Now, of those, 2 of the nights I was playing solo, and then the other night would be a miscellaneous group. And we went beyond the single soloist and would venture timidly into chamber music, a trio, even a quartet. And then somebody suggested that there was a lot of chamber music written around the time of Bach for various small wind ensembles like flute, oboe, and harpsichord. And that it was very engaging music. It was never performed, and well, anyway, he thought it would be a very good idea if we did a program like that.
Classical music was popular in the lively North Beach area, and soon Donald began playing Baroque chamber music, which drew enthusiastic audiences.
But there were personal disagreements, and eventually I left Opus 1. But in those days, North Beach had very much the quality of a small town, that people did know everybody else, and especially the people that were running the night spots. You know, they were sort of a camaraderie. And Freddie Koo had just opened the old spaghetti factory, and so Freddie would drop into the Opus from time to time, and so we were on good, comfortable terms. So when I left the Opus, I went to the old spaghetti factory. Well, for those that don't know, the spaghetti factory was a very ramshackly old place, which had literally been a spaghetti factory. It was a very roomy place, and it seems inconceivable nowadays to think about somebody with an excess of room that they didn't know what to do with. But that was the case with the old spaghetti factory. It was not easy to attract people to concerts at the old spaghetti factory. Now at the Opus, because the place was entirely devoted to classical music, it was a natural métier, and it was a natural medium for passing out concert programs and for preparing people for the concerts. But at the spaghetti factory there was no such supportive group. Well, this was a blessing in disguise, because it meant that you had to reach much further to stimulate interest, to find, you had to work to find a program that would attract an audience. But then I did get the bright idea that like a concert series is better off if it begins and it ends. In other words, instead of just going relentlessly through the year, if you have an opening concert, and then it's, say, a series of 12 concerts, a closing concert, and then you take off for a few weeks, then you open again. And it creates a new wave of excitement. With a series of 12, you could make something that had range, that had cohesiveness, that had variety, that had depth to it, that would be very appealing as a total package. So, but also, I was getting more adventurous too about the size of the groups, that you know, it was not unusual to have 5 or 6 musicians. But I think the concert did become noteworthy, and it was an extraordinary series.
I met him after the performances out there. You know, if you were lucky enough to get in, it was just packed all the time. But it was so crowded that he sort of had to run a gauntlet of admiring fans to get out the door. So we all got to meet him, but just briefly to show him, you know, to say how much we enjoyed the performance. And those of us who knew about it just went every Sunday afternoon, and lots of times you couldn't get in. Sometimes it was standing room way at the back of the room. There was about 6 inches behind the last bench. You could squeeze in there, you know, and get in.